Welcome to the Midnight Bible Study, where I offer unordained theology in a state of sleep deprivation and exhaustion. Well, tonight I want to address the issue of how to read the Bible in a year. I think that's, for me, it was super valuable. I've done it several times, and I've got a way to do it, which has really worked well for me. And if it weren't for this way, I don't know how I would have even got through it, because I have such, a demanding schedule that, it's hard to even show up. But this worked really well, and I want to share it with you. I think it's absolutely great. It's been so valuable to me. So now this is really no secret. You can get these online, and what they are is they're checklists. And they're titled, you guessed it, 52-week Bible reading plan. See, their 52-week Bible reading plan. Now, there's a bunch of them. I like this one, because it's got the little check boxes. I don't actually check the boxes. What I will typically do is highlight the day, meaning I've done the reading. So here, for example, I've got, I highlight the little box for that day, and then I just don't lose track of where I am on this sheet. So, and then on the back side of the page, this is just something I do. I don't know if it would make sense for anybody else, but what I do is I come across a lot of scriptures, and I highlight in my Bible. Just for example, to give you an example of what I do, I highlight as I read through. I highlight. You can. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not on. It doesn't probably come through very well on the camera, but it's multicolored highlights. I don't even think you could see the yellow on the camera, but. I'll have like a lot of highlights in yellow, and then more in orange, and some are underlined in red, and then I've got underlined in green highlighter. Now, the reason I do it, I don't actually do that all at once. I do that in multiple passes through the book, through the entire Bible. And for example, I'll go through what I generally do the first time through when I'm, following the 52-week Bible, the 52-week plan, is I'll just only highlight in yellow. And then I'll, whenever I see a scripture that I think is valuable and relevant to me, then I'll just highlight it. The reason why is because otherwise I may never find it again. It may get lost, or it'll take a long time to find it. But then I go back later. At some time when I'm inspired to do so, I'll go back through I'll skim all my yellow highlights, and then I'll go. All the ones of the yellow highlights, I'll pick the best ones that I think are the best of all the ones already highlighted, and I'll, highlight those in. I'll underline them with a green highlighter, so they're double highlighted at that point. And then I may go through a third time, and I may draw like lines, lines in the margins, like you see over there. Just for another way to separate it. So when later on, like now I can go through this Bible, and if I see a multicolored area where it's like 3 or 4 colors, then I know that color, and I've done 3 or 4 pass-throughs and with what I'm highlighting, and that one section has multicolors. That tells me that at 3 different times I thought that was really relevant. So the more highlights and the more colors in my Bible, the more relevant it is to me. I like this stuff. It's just the way I do it. I like it. It works for me. Now if I go, did I mention the back? I don't know if I mentioned the back side of what I do. I don't have, notice I've got this 52, I've got like a paper clip there. That's because I don't have one copy of this 52-week Bible plan. I've got, it looks like around 8 or 9 copies of it. Now, the reason I have so many copies of it, because this is just for one Bible reading in a year, is because, I also classify all the scriptures that I read based on themes. So what I'll do on the back side is I'll have columns there, and I'll literally fill the back side of that. I'll cover the back side of that page with scriptures according to categories that interest me: prayer, good news, wisdom, adversity, and the Word, and a couple others. And I'll do the same thing pretty much. Now, occasionally, as I'm reading along, I'll go, oh well, I've got a new theme that I think is suddenly standing out to me as really important. For example, on the next page, I've got covenant, which I didn't have before. So I would keep classifying all the scriptures that stand out to me on covenant. Now, you don't have to do this. I'm a writer. I'm a writing professor. So I'm always thinking about how I can, use this for in writing or in presentation like we're doing now. So you may not want to go to this much trouble. To be honest, it's a lot of work. It really is. And when you're working a really demanding schedule, it's difficult. It is difficult. For me, it was a discipline because I did everything. I did this. This extra step can be exhausting. So I don't necessarily recommend this unless you have a desire to do it. But it works for me. I do it, and so there you go. Now, this is the Bible I just showed you is the red letter New King James Version. See? Red letter New King James Version. Now, by the way, the way this works, maybe I got ahead of myself here. For example, the way this works is 52-week Bible plan. It says week 1, and it goes Monday, Romans 1 and 2. So for that day, week 1, it's just 2 chapters of the Bible. That's essentially going to be 2 or 3 pages of the Bible. That's it. Now that sometimes if you get a longer chapter, it might be 3 or 4 pages, which can be a little more work, a little more reading. But I can even when I'm exhausted and working, day and night, I can still manage to squeeze in 1 or 2 chapters, even if it's really hard. And then then the next day, Tuesday, it's Genesis. So it starts off in Romans, so it's in the epistles, Romans 1 and 2. Then Tuesday it goes to Genesis, chapters 1 to 3. So 3 chapters of Genesis. So it goes from New Testament to Old Testament. And then Tuesday, that was Monday. And then Sundays, okay, we got Sunday, the epistles. Monday is Genesis, so we're going to the Old Testament. Tuesday is Joshua, and stay in the Old Testament. And then Wednesday were a couple of chapters of the Psalms. Again, you're typically looking at a couple of pages in all of these categories. And then poetry. Is that what that says? Poetry, yeah. So you get into Job. Some of the books are a little more poetic than others. And then Friday, Isaiah, and then Saturday, back to the New Testament. Back to the Gospels with Matthew. Well, that's it. And then the following Sunday, you're back in Romans again, and you just do a repeat. And that way you go through these various areas. And that's actually wonderful because that way, if I'm reading just the New Testament, then I might be feeling like, yeah, but I want to know more. I want to know the Old Testament too. So this way, you're kind of jumping around, but it's very organized. So it's you're working through these different sections of the Bible. Each Monday you go through this. Each Monday through the etc. You got the idea. Each Monday through the epistles. Then each Monday Sunday through the epistles, Monday through Genesis, and you keep going until you're done with Genesis, which takes about 12 weeks. So by the time you just do this every day, so it's not that much work. You just a couple, 2, 3, 4 pages of the Bible, and then at the end of a year, guess what? You just read the Bible. And it's not really chronological. By the way, there's different. If you do a internet search for 52-week Bible reading plan or read the Bible in a year reading plan, there's different there's other sheets. This is just the one I prefer. There's other versions, and they might break it up slightly differently. And I just prefer this one, but you may prefer something else. So, and then the reason I have so many of these things, I have 7 or 8, is because I mentioned I write on the back of these. I classify all the scriptures on the back. Well, those only apply to the ones I highlighted on this side. So, and then once the back of the page is filled with scriptures, then I just move on to another page, so that way, it goes together. What's highlighted on the front is classified on the back. So anyway, that's what I like to do. Now, I was talking about the New King James Bible. I like this Bible just because it's poetic. I'm a literature and writing professor, so I like the poetic language. Sometimes it can be harder to understand, so probably it's not a bad idea to read another Bible. But I like this one. I've always loved this kind of language. Plus, by the way, a red letter Bible like this has all the words of Jesus in red. That's really helpful. So now there's other Bibles out there. If you have a hard time, bad eyesight, just get this is just like the last one. It's the red letter Bible of the King James Version, but it's big print. So you can get these big print ones, so that if you don't like to squint when you're reading, then this is much nicer. It's like, oh yeah, I can read that from a distance even, and you don't have to squint. So, and then here's another Bible I've read, which is the Good News Bible. So here you go. It's another Bible, the Good News Bible. And I like this. I read this when I was in Korea for a year. And I read the Bible when I was over there. So I pretty much did the same thing. I read it through, highlighted it, but I didn't do I didn't classify it in that instance. But I literally, since I am classifying it, that's why I literally read the entire Bible scripture by scripture, and I think about each scripture line by line. The reason I do that is because I'm wondering how I'm going to classify it, or if I'm going to classify it. And also I figure I'll learn it more that way. This Bible here is the Living Bible. It's paraphrased Catholic version. So there's, depending on what you're interested in, this has some extra books that were deleted by the Protestants. Now, one thing that can be helpful when you're reading the Bible is to have a Bible commentary. I don't think I ever used one, but now I use them. And but when I'm actually reading, I don't, because that would be another step that I use them afterwards. But it's a great idea. If all you're doing is just reading and highlighting, or just reading, then you may have time to just go, hey, this is fascinating, but I don't quite understand it. Pull out your commentary, and you can go to that very verse. And these books are, they basically give an explanation of every scripture. In theory, occasionally it's like one doesn't seem to be addressed very well for some reason. So I've got this one. This is the one volume Bible commentary, one like the whole Bible. So the only thing, if you do that, the scripture, but the type's going to be a little smaller, and it's possible they may not give as much commentary, because they're literally fitting the whole Bible into this one book. So occasionally I'm like, hey, you missed this scripture I was really interested in, and you didn't say much about it. No. So on other scriptures, they give fantastic commentary. So I'm not sure. And then another one is the NIV Matthew Henry commentary. This one here. This is kind of like, kind of similar. This one, however, this does cover the whole Bible. It's a little thicker. So sometimes I feel it's also kind of small print, which is what you're going to get if you get, the whole Bible commentary in one book. It's going to have, it's easily readable, but nevertheless, it's not like the large print Bible or anything. But anyway, I feel this one seems a little bit better than. For me, it seems to be a little more reliable in terms of having good explanations. And then I also have this one here, the Zondervan NIV Bible Commentary. Now, this one is, by the way, I believe these are all Protestant commentaries. Anyway, this one here is just the New Testament. So you'll notice it's just as thick as the others, but it's just the New Testament. So, I found this gives a little bit, the text is a little bit bigger, which is nice, and it says a little more gives a little more commentary. So this one is kind of new to me. So, but so far, I think it's my favorite. So anyway, there you go. That's some. And by the way, I didn't mention this little Bible. I've got other Bibles too, but this is another one here. This is just something that was handed out to me at the university. Somebody handed this out and said, "Oh, here, passing it out to everybody who passes by." I've got others this way, and I don't read this. I thought I should, but it's really small. I would almost need a magnifying glass for this. So you can give actually I did read it. This is all highlighted. Yeah, you can give these away. I think they're good little gifts to just give somebody, like if you're, there's a homeless person, just put a $5 bill in there and hand the Bible to them with a $5 bill. So, yeah, that's it. Oh, there's one other thing I do. Here, if you're interested, I also, since I classify all these scriptures, I then sometimes will go and put all the scriptures into a document, and then I produce like a 20-page document, and I've got numerous of these packets, and it's just all the scriptures under devotion to the Word. And so this one here has got all kinds of scriptures. So if I'm interested in devotion to the Word, I just pull out my packet and I'll go through this and look at the scriptures. And guess what? This is all highlighted in the same way the Bible is. So, and then I've also used stars. I also put stars here for my favorite scriptures and notes and things like that. So, all right. Well, there you go. That's thanks for watching, and God bless you, and good night from the Midnight Bible Study.